Well, hello, fellow Nikophiles. That sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Well, hello, fellow Nikon Legacy DSLR fans, and welcome to a macro photography comparison of two giants of the Nikon back catalogue, the legendary D700 and the newer and less revered, as far as I can tell, D800E. Now, if you want to know why I bought the D800E, then there's a link to a video up there somewhere. If you haven't already watched it, then maybe pause this video and go and watch that one first. It's only a few minutes and explains exactly why I wanted to buy the camera. Anyway, while I prattle on, here's a quick guide to some of what I consider the more important specifications of both cameras, as well as some side-by-side shots so you can compare them. Now, usability wise, they are pretty well identical, really, being roughly the same size and weight with exactly the same, give or take, controls, more or less. What I love about cameras of this age, though, is the sheer usability, really, without the need to dive into endless menus. Once you have done that at the start and then set the camera up to your liking, then 99% of what you will ever need to access is at hand in the form of a button or dial. Fantastic. Okay, with the physical comparison out of the way, then what about the images each camera produces? I'm afraid I was limited to shooting indoors for this, which is no great shame, as at least that made for constant light throughout the test shots. The lens I chose for these comparison shots, well, there could be only one, because I've only got one Nikon macro lens, and it's the GOAT, the 105mm f2.8G, of course. And no focus stacking here, no shenanigans, just a series of straight up images. I'm particularly interested in how the D800E stacks up in its rendering of the out of focus areas. The D700 with the GOAT are just beautifully sublime and creamy in this area. Can the more modern, higher resolution camera compete? Well, to find out, I set up a series of controlled experiments, shooting some wild teasel in my conservatory, and then a Cyberman. Yes, I have a toy Cyberman, get over it. And a bokeh test in my studio, come office, come spare room here. For the first shot of this wild teasel, once I set the D700 up on my three-legged thing Brian tripod, I shot a series of images, all at f8, and white balance set to auto, with ISO then set to 100 and 6400. I then left the L bracket attached to the tripod while I swapped the cameras out and shot the exact same two frames with the D800E. Both cameras were spot metered on exactly the same spot on the plant as well. Moving into the studio, I shot my Cyberman without having to hide behind a sofa at the same settings, so f8 auto white balance and two ISO levels of 100 and 6400. Finally, I shot some China mushrooms, like ornament mushrooms then, in front of my bookcase in here to see how both cameras fared with their rendering of the out of focus areas. An aperture of f3.2 was used, and that's the largest I could select at that focal distance, and ISO was set on both cameras to 100. Now, before we have a look at these images, just a word on how much I like the fact that when you format a memory card in a Nikon camera, it bakes in the camera's make and model. This makes things so much easier when looking at cards on the computer. I wish Fujifilm would do the same, instead of just seeing, untitled showing up, or SD card or whatever. Anyway, the images, and looking at the wild teasel here side by side with the D700 on the left and the 800E on the right, well, there's little to choose between them. The 800E's image perhaps is just that little bit more crisp. Then when zoomed in, it's obvious, I think, that the D800E produces a more detailed image, and I'd have been amazed really if that weren't the case. Same with this picture of a Cyberman, with the D800E again producing a more crispier image a more detailed image as you would expect. Now, zooming in on the Cyberman, it's the higher ISO performance of the D800E that surprised me. I thought the D700 would have a slight advantage here regardless of its older processor because, you know, of the larger photo sites, 12 compared to 36 on the same size sensor. But it's the D800E that seems to handle higher ISOs better, obviously, or probably down then to its much more modern X-Speed 3 processor. Looking at the out of focus rendering, again there's little to choose between the cameras, but shock horror, I think I prefer the D800E image. I know, this is only one test shot and I will be repeating the exercise outdoors when I feel up to it, and I'll report back then with further findings. Oh yes, I will, trust me. Whatever, that is it for this comparison of two Nikon DSLRs. The D700 is rightly a legendary camera, being Nikon's first smaller bodied full frame offering after the much larger D3, with its built-in battery grip. Will the D800E ever attain legendary status? I don't know, I doubt it probably, but it has a niche place, I think, in Nikon's lineup as the first camera to go without an anti-aliasing filter, all in the name of sharpness. Anyway, what do you think of these cameras and these images? Share your thoughts with us all in the comments section. I, for one, would be really interested to know your opinions. Also, would you like me to do another one of these videos, only next time shooting a land or seascape with the 17 to 35mm wide angle zoom? Again, let me know below. But whatever you want to do, until next time, be nice, okay? Just be nice to each other. Ta-ra.